Hello and welcome to a special edition of Grounding Politics on Key Radio. Today we have a very special guest in David Raventos from Barcelona, who is into his sixth day of a hunger strike for the cause of independence for Catalonia and Scotland. So very much in our thoughts here in Scotland. David, welcome.
Thanks. It's so great to be home a bit because K Radio has been very important for the cause of independence. So it feels good. It feels like coming back home. So thanks a lot for the opportunity.
That is not a problem anytime. A lot of people may not know about what you've been up to in the last few weeks, few months. As a kind of background, David's done a hunger strike, was it 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and forcibly stopped by the Spanish state. He's now undertaken another hunger strike on top of releasing a video documentary on not only Scottish independence and Catalonian independence, but telling the lie that we're living under. Also, a book has been released on the same topic, and that all happened last Tuesday, 1st of October. David, tell us more about what you hope to achieve from the hunger strike and the book and film launch.
Okay, it's a triple strike, what we call the perfect storm, because considering we are outsiders, it's very difficult that you can put up a more forceful triple strike than having a very forceful documentary. That documentary is 1 hour 37 minutes. The first part in 18 minutes, it shows how independence was stolen from the Scottish people in 2014 with the help of their so-called leaders. The middle part of the documentary talks about how they manipulate us into believing anything, like how the CIA invented the term conspiracy theory, or how they boil a frog slowly so we don't realize that they're teasing us. And the third part chronologically explains how the Catalan people have been treasoned for the last 9 years. And no press, nobody has mentioned this documentary in its fifth day, but 24,000 people have seen it in YouTube, as I say, without any mention in any media. And we've got tremendous support from people saying, we trust you and you only to deliver independence. So that part is working fine. We're trying to break the censorship to try to it to be broadcasted. The second, the first objective of the hunger strike is to get the present parties to dismantle, to quit in parliament, to accept they betrayed us, to bring back new elections into which them or their leaders or their splinter parties won't present themselves. So the millions of independentists that have been cheated, treated, and disappointed by the current parties will join under the banner of Directa 68 and will declare independence through UDI, which is the only way that brings independence, in the first meeting, in the first session. The second objective of the hunger strike is to get this documentary that will have a version in English or Scots. I never know how to put it right. It's English, the Scottish way, or Scots, you know what I mean, in a few weeks, and it will be in a Spanish version in 10 days, I guess. We want this documentary broadcasted in Catalan television in prime time, followed by a panel that would include the director and myself, which I'm co-scriptwriter, as you are, of the documentary. And I won't stop the hunger strike until that happens. So my hunger strike will stop when that is broadcasted in prime time, because we think that the Catalan people have the right to information of things that are said there that nobody have told us in 10 years. Mm-hmm. So we want the public to know that. And the third and last objective, and I'll let you speak because I'm talking too much, is I want my, because when I did that hunger strike 3 years ago, I was forcibly put in a mental ward without having any mental condition. They invented that I'm bipolar. They invented that I have a psychotic strength. They kept me locked for 62 days. They tortured me with Depakine and Risperidona, which are drugs that are potentially murderous. And not only that, but a few months ago, when I had some problem with my heart, they sent me home because they thought it was anxiety related to my mental condition that I don't have. That could have resulted in death because I had to come back 2 days after that with 5 liters of liquid in my lungs. Wow. Because my heart was not working properly. They told me I could have died at night because they did a wrong diagnosis based on a fake mental record. And that is thick. So I want my mental record to be erased, and I want a rectification to be published in every Catalan newspaper, and I want indemnization, compensation that would be used 100% to the cause of independence. So those are the 3 objectives of the hunger strike.
Okay, first of all, how are you bearing up? 6 days, you've lost a few kilograms in weight?
Well, I've lost 5 kilos in 5 days because, of course, this is the 6th day, but it's 5 days since I weighed myself the first day. I've lost 5 kilos, but I still have some place to go. I still have 20 kilos of fat around me, I guess. So, and actually at this point, I feel better than I've felt in some time. I feel like dancing today, but it's early days. It's gonna be a tough fight. The censorship we're getting is atrocious. But I'm proud because I have the best team that I can be. As we speak, some member of the team has challenged some very public journalist, and she's recorded saying tremendous things. So we're gonna make a video publicizing that. People are fighting and we're sharing things. We're going to Barça Stadium today to give flyers. We have t-shirts, as you know, done by every day. We have a different t-shirt with a number of the hunger strike. We have a special website. We have, as I say, stickers, flyers, posters. It's very different from the first hunger strike we did. We have legal advice. I have a doctor that helps me. We have a spokesperson. And now I'm president of a political party, director of a radio program, co-scriptwriter of an important documentary, and co-writer of a book. So if they were able to put me in a mental ward again, I think every person in Catalonia should run away from this country. So I feel I'm quite protected now.
It's good that you've got the backup there. What inroads are you getting with the mainstream media to publicise the book, the film, and your hunger strike?
Absolute silence. I mean, we've only got some mentions in, dissident radio stations. Right. One digital newspaper went as far as to put an interview with me. The first version was an activist on hunger strike for independence. And then they thought it was too positive, so they changed it to dieting until independence. I mean, that's below the belt. A new belt I've had to buy because
I would think that was maybe incorrect. I could say.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
I would say that was an incorrect statement by them. Yeah,
not only, but they had published the first one, so we have the screenshots how the article was named first and how they renamed it 3 hours after that. I don't know if somebody made a phone call or they realized that they were being too positive about something. Basically, we're threatening the system. This is the biggest threat the Catalan system that works for the Spanish system has had in decades. We have a documentary that people are passing. It's not still viral, but it's on the verge. Yeah. It's censored. Then you have a hunger strike for independence, and media says zilch after 6 days. And that will make a lot of people realize what kind of censorship we have. Because they inform you about every little thing, and then about the documentary that could change the history of Catalonia, and about the hunger strike that could do the same thing. Zero information. And they pretend to be a democracy. So this must be ringing some alarms in lots of Catalan brains. And we are sure we're going to win this. This is not going to stop till we win. We bring down the collaborationists that are barking against Madrid, but actually are in Madrid's payroll. I have to say that's something that's quite international. I spoke with some people on the street from Ireland and from Wales, and they both said that their independence leaders work for London. So a lot of people knows it's the same protocol. When you have so-called pro-indie parties that work for the metropolis, then the victory for independence is impossible, because no matter who you support, no matter what you vote, no matter how much you march, and congratulations on the 200,000 plus in Edinburgh, but marches and voting won't bring independence. It requires realizing we've been lied. I'm quite convinced that the 18 minutes in Scotland are gonna open a lot of minds in Scotland. Just a small correction. This time I'm doing it only for Catalonia, because I think that independence of Catalonia will help bringing about independence in Scotland. But this time we focused it in Catalonia because I think Scots have to do their own way. But I'm sure that this hunger strike and this documentary and the book that we hope to translate into English and put it in Amazon, because it talks about generic things, about lying to people, the terrorist use of psychiatry to incarcerate dissidents, the attacks in Barcelona in Las Ramblas, which were a false flag, all these things about infiltration and how they run the world are international themes. So we are sure that the English version, when we have it in internet, in ebook, can go a long way everywhere that English is spoken. So it's exciting times. I'm very motivated, and I'm sure we're gonna win this.
Well, I really hope you are. We're kind of up to date where you are right now, but some people watching this video may not know about yourself and may not know about your party. Can you give us some background to how
Yes.
the 68 became about? And
in university, I had some responsibilities in the mainstream, in the main pro-independence student union in university. There, I met people that are running Catalonia now. The main people running Catalonia, practically, except the president, I met there. And for 25 years, I didn't understand how people supposedly intelligent and supposedly pro-independence could never get it right about independence, and they were breaking and splintering parties and having fights and having tiffs, and then they were friends again and whatever. And then 5 years and a half ago, I made the effort of putting the Spanish t-shirt and the Catalan t-shirt. And whoa, it was a eureka moment. I understood everything. They were traitors, which is the normal thing when you've been occupied for 300 years. And change occupied by betrayed or sold, bought and sold to English gold. And more or less it's the same situation in Scotland, as far as I know. But that meant starting a fight. That meant being attacked, being lambasted. But in the end, we've managed to put together a political party without politicians, Directa 68, that wants to gather everybody who wants independence, except the 500 or 700 or 2,000 people on top, which are specially placed on top by Spain to nullify, to neutralize millions of pro-indie people. It doesn't matter if you have 100,000 zillion independentists on the street, if you had not a single pro-indie member of Scottish Parliament or Catalan Parliament. We need to change that. We need to put the people in charge. Only the people can save the people, but we need to do it. Not just marching and voting. We need to change the leaders. We need new leadership. We need the natural leaders of every nation, not manufactured pro-metropolis leaders that are placed there for us to love them. And then London attacks them, so we love them by reverse psychology. And Madrid attacks the Catalan leaders, so Catalan people love their leaders by reverse psychology. We need to see behind all that. And I'm proud because the documentary The Lie is an important tool in helping us clarify these things. So
you mentioned the video there. It's in Catalonian language just now. I believe there is going to be an English language version very soon. Is there any update when that might be?
I think it's gonna be, I don't know, in a few weeks, because I'm not the person, not in charge of dubbing, and I'm not the director, but I spoke with him about this because I was having this interview with you. I think it might be in the month of November. But when I know more, I'll let you know.
Yeah. You talk about the leaders, both in Scotland and Catalonia, have been bought and paid for by the respective Spanish and Westminster governments. The people here, anyway, in Scotland, are not ready to accept that their leaders are not what they seem.
I know, but
how do you
it's very
change
difficult.
that point of view?
It's very difficult, but here in Catalonia it has started yet. I could say that we have, I think if we went to elections today, we're only going to go to elections when we have a majority to win and change the system. We're not going to be players there fooling around, and we're not in this for seats. We're not in this for fame. We're in this to risk our lives to get independence. This means that I think we have several thousand people that already have gone the hard way of realizing that we live in a Truman Show and everything they love is a lie, okay? So in Catalonia, we are started, and the documentary has opened a lot more minds. And of course, it's difficult, but we are doing something that was practically impossible. Independence of Catalonia and Scotland was impossible no matter how close we think we've got. Because it's like in a film, you don't get close to things if the director of the film has decided that the end is otherwise. Do we agree on that? You might get the feeling that you're close to something, but when you're living in a film, it doesn't matter if you're close to something, because if the one running the script has decided that not only you're not going to get your goal, but you're going to get depressed because they're going to make you believe that you're really close to the goal, you really haven't been close, have you? You were marching to a referendum that didn't have the minimum guarantees it should have. And that happened under the guard of Alex Salmond and Nicola Sturgeon. I'm quite convinced that when the documentary The Lie comes out in English, a lot of people at least are going to start having doubts. Because it's put in there. It's a referendum that couldn't be won because it was rigged. In any ways you can rig a referendum, that happened. But you cannot imagine that people that are supposed to be the best in the country, that they have prepared themselves for this moment after 300 years, and they would fail so blatantly, would you? I don't believe it. And Catalan leaders as well.
I think a lot of people here in Scotland were, including myself, were naive. We thought, I laugh at the even thought of saying this, we thought we were in a democracy, that the votes would be counted fairly, etc. It was very plain to see on the day of the referendum. I'd heard a few things myself at the polling station I was at, that it was obvious that it was not being treated fairly at all. I have seen in the preceding 5 years a slow change of people becoming disgruntled with their leaders. I don't see, though, a willingness to go as far as yourself and say that these people are corrupt. I fear, in Scotland anyway, that the change, the realisation that something is amiss is going too slowly and will go too slow, and whatever way the English independence, i.e. Brexit, turns out, won't be good for Scotland and will definitely not be good for our cause of independence.
But I don't think that Brexit will happen.
And change, show people the truth. But I think people have got to be ready in themselves to accept a different reality. We've done it here with the Labour Party, who have got our undivided support for 80 years, and just after the referendum people woke up to the fact that they were in it for reasons other than the people. Trying then to take those people who jump from being Labour supporters to SNP supporters and then tell them that they're wrong again, I fear is at the moment a step too far. Have you any advice on how?
Well, there's people need to educate themselves. You need to have patience because it's not something that happens little by little. So it's very hard to get the first base covered. But when you have 1,000 people that have picked up the truth, they never come back from that. I don't know. The examples are, it's like we all humans are born in a zoo for generations. So it is very difficult for a lion that has been born in a zoo for 10 generations to understand what the real life outside there is.
Yeah.
Okay? But some of us, for some reasons, I don't consider myself special, but I have a certain set of circumstances that make me an insider. I studied with people running Catalonia. I'm not scared of dying. My level of English has allowed me to understand the situation in Scotland, and that has helped me understand Catalonia, and that puts me in a position to do this. So I'm on a mission. This mission has chosen me. It's not me that I chose to do this, because frankly, I've lost so many things and it's so scary. Sometimes some of the things I've had to do. They asked me, like in 1994, the book or the film, what my worst fear was. And I said, being locked in a mental ward without being mad. And they delivered my worst fear. But I conquered my fear, and with the help of family and very special friends, I recovered myself from almost suicidal wishes. And now I have a party, a radio, a documentary, a book, thousands of people supporting us, and I'm doing a hunger strike which will galvanize support, and millions of people are going to change things. Scotland, possibly, because of the accidental fact that they don't have you don't have an insider that have studied with them all but works for the right side, probably it will go slower. I think if it wasn't by the accidental fact that I know them from 30 years, possibly I wouldn't have seen things clearly, or not that clearly. So it's nothing to do, it has to do with chance. Maybe the chance was that somebody in Catalonia can help deliver independence in Catalonia. And believe me, if independence happens in Catalonia and it comes from a group that includes a person that did a hunger strike for Catalonia and Scotland in 2016, that needs to open a lot of eyes, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And especially when it's in a way that we are going to prove that they're traitors. So the normal thing in Scotland is going to be to check your own cupboards, isn't it?
When you use language like traitors, I think that rubs people up the wrong way, especially here in Scotland, because, as I say, they're not willing to accept it.
Yeah, but it's the only way out. I understand. I understand that. I understand what you say because I've suffered it for 6 years. Okay, but when the truth is something, I don't know. If you are in the Titanic, possibly it was called Olympic, but let's not go into that. Either you tell the people that it's sinking or they're gonna die. Yes?
Yeah.
So actually, there's no two ways about it. So if you tell them that, oh, you're gonna have a slight discomfort, they're gonna die. You have to tell them it's sinking, and you have to call a spade and a traitor. Because somebody that has been working for the enemy and somebody that has been handpicked, like Nicola Sturgeon, to avoid independence while pretending to want it, it's a traitor. Because she works for the country that she defends. It's not that she's incompetent. It's not that she's playing the long game. It's none of that. All those things are things that London manufactures to keep Nicola Sturgeon supported by Scottish, because that's the only way to prevent independence. The only way to prevent independence is that Scottish people hate Nicola Sturgeon even more than they hate Boris Johnson. Then it is hard, yes, but independence after 300 years was never meant to be easy, was it? You think that London is going to be waiting there, so sometime people realize they want to be independent and they start marching and voting and they declare independence. I'm sorry, but the world is not like that. The world is about scheming.
I've been in Barcelona with you in the past, and I got to say I was surprised when you said that marching and the marches and the gatherings in Barcelona and whole of Catalonia is mind-boggling. Millions of people on the street, but you reckon that does nothing?
It's 2 years now and we're not independent.
Yeah.
And now they're talking about the new referendum, Scottish way, that will kill independence.
Did they want to duplicate what happened in Scotland in 14 to the end of the day?
Yes. Yes.
We have identified here, even people who would rail against this whole interview and what we're saying, what you're saying, is they recognise that the means in place to keep the vote fair were not there. There was no exit polls. There was no security on the ballots. The postal ballot, which was at roughly 20% of the total, has been reported of going to England to be checked, to then come back up.
Yes.
I always thought, like in the Crimea, if Russia took out the votes to Moscow and brought them back, it would have been an uproar. But it's okay for us. So there is a recognition in Scotland that if we do a referendum again, that things have to change. My worry is no one in the top positions are talking the same way. They're not suggesting any different way of doing the vote, of taking ballot boxes from the polling stations to a central location, which is open to all sorts of irregularities.
But the problem is that there's this motto saying, I don't know how to translate it to English, but they say that persons are rational animals, they say. I don't know how it translates in English, but I guess the concept is okay. But there's not, we're emotional animals. If you put in a computer all the shenanigans that happened in the referendum, it will tell you that the people who were on guard and didn't avoid it worked for the enemy. That's step one. But second, I remember very clearly how people complaining got a cold shoulder from the SNP. Am I right?
Very much so. Yeah.
So
refused to even acknowledge that we had.
So it's guilty by not avoiding it and guilty by not correcting it, isn't it?
Yes.
So that should be enough. Any computer in the world would tell you that the SNP works for London. And on top of that, after 300 years, that's the normal way to work. Because one of the biggest empires, which is the British Empire, will not let things to chance. I think it's very easy to know.
I think that's without doubt, but some people, especially, I can't speak for the people of Catalonia because I'm not there and I don't know, but I know people here have this misplaced trust in the system, that the system will deliver when the system is plainly, obviously set up. And if you're the master, this is how you will set it up, is to benefit yourself, i.e. Westminster, i.e. England. It's not here to benefit people of Scotland. The people of Scotland, they've been so put down for 300 years, been told since birth that you are not worthy, you're not an equal to the rest of the people on these islands, that to take them from that mental state and to even do things like civil disobedience, peaceful, non-aggressive civil disobedience is a quantum leap for some people.
But you need to, but I think,
which is great, it's a great sight, yeah. But
I understand what you say, but you need to, you told me before if I had some advice. First advice is stop thinking about people, because this is a meritocratic revolution. If it makes sense, the word meritocratic in English, which I'm on thin ice and I don't know, but you know what I mean? It's a revolution based on merit.
Yeah.
You need first to individualize the natural leaders that are capable of going against everything. It's people that needs to be able to think what the others can think, say what the others won't say, and do what the others wouldn't do. And these are not millions of people. That might be 1,000 people, but those 1,000 will become 10,000. This 10,000 will become 100,000, and the next level is 1 million, and the next level you don't even have 10 million people in Scotland. So stop seeing the problem as a whole. Stop seeing like 5 million, 5.5 million Scottish people being manipulated by mainstream. I bet my life there's 1,000 people there, 2,000 people there that are awake. Those 1,000 are enough to start the revolution, okay? And looking at that problem in those terms will make you not fall into despair. Those people exist, they just need to be found. And I'm sure that the movement in Catalonia and the documentary in English are gonna be an enormous help for you to gather these 1,000 people, and these 1,000 people will spark a revolution?
There is, I think the people are there. We are sidelined and ridiculed by supposed pro-Indy supporters because we don't follow a party line. My mantra has always been cause before party, but the majority of people here who claim to be pro-Indy and are pro-Indy put party first and won't listen to any argument that says otherwise. It's frustrating. But I think the 1,000 you're talking about, we have more than 1,000 people who are awake, probably awake, that can recognise that the people will take independence and no political party will.
You need to gather those people, but there's some things in the documentary that are important. I mean, two staple things in Scottish independentism are the National and the SNP, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, the National, if it was a source, if it was a tool for independence, it would have been set up before the referendum, wouldn't you think?
Exactly my thoughts when it came out.
But it's been put out later to neutralize independence. But on top of that, it belongs to the Gannett Group, that has interest or has shared some CEO with Lockheed Martin in the past. And Lockheed Martin is the ones that make the missiles to put in Trident. So it doesn't add up. Gannett has some links with the CIA. Why would a company with links with the CIA? They have links, and the headquarters in Langley, of Gannett Group, or it used to be when we checked this a couple of years ago, and of the CIA are 500 meters apart. It's peculiar, isn't it?
It could be peculiar to some people, but doesn't surprise.
And that a group that is 500 meters away from the CIA in Langley and that has interest or has shared a CEO that was the owner of Lockheed Martin, the one that weapons the Trident, why should this newspaper really want independence? No, it wants to bark for independence to make sure that not real indie people are going to set up their own newspaper. It happens everywhere. They occupy the space. They put fake pro-indie parties. They put fake pro-indie media. So they neutralize those people into reading this or into voting that. Then again, the campaign for making everybody join the SNP after the referendum was totalitarian and fascistic. Pressure was put, I remember it perfectly, USNP yet, and people on social media saying, oh, I've never been a member of any party, but now I'm joining the SNP. And if you disavow that, I got threats in Scotland for saying the SNP won't deliver. And 5 years on, they haven't delivered. They haven't delivered even when they had overall majority in Scotland and 56 out of 59 in Westminster. I remember the SNP manifesto of 1997 saying that all it was needed for UDI was to have a majority of Scottish seats in Westminster. Isn't it right?
That's exactly right. I'm afraid I was one of those people who awoke the day after the referendum. It was in the afternoon. Alex Salmond was on TV resigning, which was a shock. And it worked though, because I immediately went on the computer and joined a party when I'd vowed never to join any party.
No, but I'm not criticizing the individual. My friendship with you goes stronger than anything. I mean, it was so great to meet you again when I was in Scotland. But it's normal because they know how to manipulate us. So it's not when we say we've been manipulated. It took me 25 years to realize this. So I'm not any better than nobody else. I've just, for sort of circumstances.
I think a lot of people still believe with all their heart that is the only way to go. Now, if people want to believe the SNP are what they claim to be, fine. But why destroy any other voice, as they done in the elections, the Scottish elections of 16? With the SNP ×2 vote, wasted 1 million votes, and they knew they were going to waste that amount of votes, and allowed 60 English party MSPs into the Scottish government, which is, I think, is unforgivable. But they got what they needed. They needed to silence voices like Solidarity, Rise, Greens, even to a certain extent. Any pro-Indie voice was decimated in that election.
Yes.
And now the mantra is SNP are the only party who can deliver. Well, it's been engineered.
Yeah,
that.
but it's SNP is the only party that won't deliver. Okay, we need to understand how the system works.
Yeah.
We don't get offered never any real option for the people. Okay. In Catalonia, we have 8 parties in parliament. None of them works for the Catalan people. But they just, it's like a soap opera, you know? In a soap opera, you need different ages, different characters, different approaches to life, different sexual options. So everybody can like a character, so you can have millions of people watching the same soap. Politics is the same kind of soap. You need left wing, you need right wing, you need liberals, you need pro-indie, you need against indie. So everybody is hooked up on the show. So nobody challenges the show on its entirety. Okay? SNP is part of the British show to keep Scotland in the UK while pretending to want independence. If you have a lot of pro-union parties and then you have only one pro-indie party, but that is run by moles that were chosen when they were 16, 17 or 18, like Nicola Sturgeon case, then independence is impossible because SNP won't deliver, because the reason of SNP is non-delivering. Because if they had to deliver, they would have avoided the referendum being rigged and they would challenge the result of the referendum. You mentioned Alex Salmond quitting. The day he quit on 18th of September, remember that day, yeah? I was, as far as I know, the first person to mention how weird it is that he didn't resign in the first appearance in the morning, if that was his intention, right? Yeah. If you had been preparing for a referendum your whole life, but technically for the last year and a half, you already have decided what your personal decision will be on any of the 2 possible outcomes, isn't it?
You would think. Yeah.
And then if you appear in the morning and you plan to resign, you would announce it at the same time. He didn't do that because he needed to accept the fake result and not take away any of the attention with his resignation. Yes? If you announce we've lost and I resign, the words in the newspapers will be split about we lost and he's resigning, isn't it?
Yeah.
He wanted undivided attention to the fact that he was conceding victory. And then a few hours later he resigns, but already it was clear that Scotland had lost, which is not true. Things went more far than that. A lot of fake pro-indie people start groups in Facebook saying we are the 45. That is psychological warfare to put in the brain of people that you actually had lost, which you had not.
Yes, I said that on the day when, as soon as they appeared, the 45 in Scotland is Claudine. Psychologically, it was a defeat. 45. There was no accident. It was 45. In
Yes.
fact, I think it was Willie Rennie. I could be wrong in the person, but one of the Liberal Democrats had actually said 2 weeks prior that the result would be 55-45. So, is he a very astute man who followed the polls correctly? I don't think so. He knew what was going to happen. The 45, and I see people continually, even to this day, we are the 45. To me, it is saying that we are the defeated, and we will stay defeated.
Yes, and we are minority.
We are a minority, yeah. And every time you use the 45, you are saying we are a minority and we will never be the majority. And they believe polls from London, for London, and on behalf of London, and the polls, these people follow them as gospel. And I can't understand it. I really can't. I can understand on one level, with 300 years of being told you are nothing. It takes a real big step in the dark to believe in yourself again.
But
unfortunately, I think
but,
Scottish people are not ready to believe in themselves, truly.
But I noticed some sadness in your tone. You should
Yes,
get away
yes.
from that. No, you have to grow out of that, if you allow me.
No
Because
problem.
what we are gonna do in Catalonia and then in Scotland was impossible. It was not in the books.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna make something impossible because we've been lucky enough to realize the trick in Catalonia, and that will help bring some light to Scotland. So we shouldn't be sad because it's very difficult. We should be very proud and happy because
I'm not sad about the difficulty. The difficulty for myself anyway was always a mountain to climb. I'm sad because people won't take that next step out of the shell to go to places like we maybe have hunger strikes here in Scotland, etc., and civil disobedience on a large scale. They're not. What I see them. A lot of people are not ready. A lot of people are though. A lot of people have totally broken through that glass ceiling and want to go.
It will come. We are gonna deliver in Catalonia, and then if we are something to do with that, our first official trip is gonna be to Scotland, but not necessarily to meet the government, but to meet people like you, to put our experiences together to help deliver independence to Scotland. You have my promise.
Thank you. I think there could be a domino effect when either country gets free. I think the whole imperialistic system that's been built over centuries will disintegrate very quickly, very, very quickly. One goes free, all go free.
I agree to that.
And whatever, I know they've got their own problems that you've outlined, probably more so. I don't know if the hope is the right word, but I live in hope that someday we will truly have an independence movement worthy of the name. And that may upset some people. So.
But you have a real independence movement, but it's just neutralized by people that exist precisely to neutralize it. So it depends. It really depends on how you look at it, because it might seem very difficult because they have all the control positions, but on the other hand, it's very few people. You know what I mean? It's very few people that are working for London, but they have all the power positions because they. I recommend seeing a film called The Brotherhood of the Bell from the 50s, might be, with Glenn Ford, I think it is, or this organization where they place everybody on top. And when somebody is forced to murder somebody and he rebels against the organization, they try to put him in a mental institution. It's the same thing they did to me in a way. So people need to educate themselves, I think, as I educated myself. I didn't want to sound arrogant. As I said, I'm just a normal guy in not very normal circumstances. So nothing I say has to do with arrogance or anything. We have to educate ourselves outside the mainstream media, and we need to learn from other countries. What I know comes from having learned from Scotland, having learned from Basque Country as well. I spoke with people who have been fighting for 60 years for Basque independence, and they told me how the so-called Basque leaders work for Madrid. So it's the same all over, because 3 places is already too much of a coincidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has to be some protocol, and it's 3 nations against Britain and Spain, which are very, very special allies of United States, and they all belong to European Union for the time being, and I think Brexit won't happen, and they all belong to NATO. So breakups or independences don't happen in NATO or European Union easily. So they have a protocol, and well, you know, they did it worse. They did it with Gladio operation in the 70s and 80s, where they murdered people in lots of countries to try to make it pass as communist attacks, and it was NATO. So now they've evolved to infiltrating every pro-independence movement inside NATO to make them talk the talk, but they never walk the walk. I just want to say that I'm very determined to follow this hunger strike till it reaches its objectives. We are convinced that a new movement is emerging that's going to declare independence in Catalonia earlier than in a year, I think. I'm convinced that this will help other movements of other nations that are enslaved inside Europe. I'm sure that the documentary, when it's in English, it will help a lot in the movement in Scotland, and I hope we can translate the book as well and put it up there in ebooks so some people can know what the real fight for independence is going on here. I want to thank you a lot for the opportunity of bringing this out to the outside world, and thanks a lot for letting us start Radio Adrian, which has become an enormous tool. Thousands of people listen to it, and some of my best friends exist because they listen to us thanks to K Radio. So eternal thanks.
That's good to know. Good to
And
know.
I'll just say, Visca Catalunya Lliure I Saur Aduba Gubra.
Thank you. David Raventos, thank you for joining us today on the show. More power to yourself and the movement, and hopefully one day we can embrace in a free Catalonia and a free Scotland. Thanks again for listening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.